Apple products have long been seen as being more than they are. This isn't just a phone, and this isn't just a laptop. They're status symbols. And wherever there's a status symbol, there's a knockoff.
I'm sure you've seen them online, much cheaper than an iPhone, thinking, maybe it's just as good. Well, that would require buying one. And so we did.
Clearly, there's something to this. It's frankly iconic. But at some point, you're gonna have to use this thing. And that's real pay. Whoa, here it is. So this box looks an awful lot like the iPhone box. Okay, on the back we have a high digital camera, face recognition. This is definitely not packaged as nicely as an Apple device. Apple famously doesn't use any plastic in their packaging, whereas this uses a lot. Whoa, a headphone jack? Apple would never include that. Whoa, a screen protector? That's amazing. Apple would never include that. Whoa, USB-C? Apple only just included that. And then we have a 3-camera bump, just like the iPhone. Wow, it is uncanny how terrible this looks. Whoa, it runs Android. Keep the moving pieces is open the camera, switch to video mode. We make moving pieces here. That's what Mac Address is most known for. This is the slowest phone I've ever used. While this is loading, you might notice that there is a notch dynamic island. It's literally just a blank black thing printed onto the glass. Why would you do that? This speaker's horrible. That's it. Let's open up the camera. Now there's 3 lenses on here. Unfortunately, System UI has stopped. This is infuriating. Okay, let's try force shutting this off. You know, this reminds me of how slow that iMac we bought, that refurbished iMac, with a spinning internal drive. So we were trying to figure out the camera. That's what we were trying to do. Man, it takes so long to load things in this, you literally forget what you're doing. This is very strange. The selfie camera looks kind of good. There's no zoom. There's no, the cameras are fake. Let's go to the Apple website. Oh, there we go. You know, when a device is this slow, you kind of start second guessing yourself. Did I really click on the internet browser? Whoa, it's loading. The browser isn't responding. Do you want to close it? Wait, okay. I wanted to look at this website. This phone's terrible. I've never used it.
But you have to use it.
No. No?
I did have to use the thing, and boy, do we find secrets lurking underneath. Unlike a real iPhone, correct? Well, despite Apple's best efforts to lock down iOS, it's still vulnerable to spyware. Have you heard of Pegasus? Worse still, it's notoriously difficult to spot because of Apple's sandbox restrictions. Certo anti-spyware, however, can perform a full deep scan of your iPhone by plugging it into your computer and using their desktop app. After a few minutes, any threats detected can be removed with a simple tap of the button. And now you can stay protected with Certo for even less. Click the link below and get 20% off today. From the product page, it looks like they've upgraded the iPhone since we've bought it, but even our old model advertised specs that meet or exceed what you'll find on the real iPhone 14 Pro. 1 terabyte of internal storage, dual SIM card support, a 6.7-inch 1440p AMOLED display, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a very strong 6,800 milliamp hours battery.
These aren't specs to scoff at, and on paper make it seem like it's worth far more than the $300 asking price.
And yet, the longer you use this phone, the more you hate it. I put a SIM card in here, intending to use it as an actual phone for a bit. That plan was quickly dashed though, when it kept telling me there was no SIM card inserted.
Did I put them in backwards?
Or would detect the SIM card and then tell me I have no service.
No service, no service. And it frequently switches between these states without any rhyme or reason. This is something that persisted across both slots, making it entirely useless as an actual phone. But hey, it's still got Wi-Fi, which would be great if that worked reliably.
Unlike the SIM card, I could get this to connect to Wi-Fi. It took about a dozen attempts across several networks, but it did eventually work. However, even if the shockingly unresponsive home screen decided to cooperate and launch an app, it would often show a connection error or load indefinitely, assuming the phone hadn't disconnected from the Wi-Fi of its own volition by this point.
Using this thing is a test of patience. For example, I have not been able to download any apps onto the phone because the Play Store rarely loads. And even when it does, it becomes so unresponsive, it's basically useless.
And good luck force closing an app to try and get things moving again, since the navigation bar at the bottom often disappears without reason. Even if you can get to the app manager, it too will often freeze. The web browser works surprisingly well compared to everything else on here, though it's far from an ideal experience, with janky scrolling and web pages awkwardly scaling.
The other thing I noticed on here is that the browser, the notification shade, even the settings page look kind of old. In fact, I swear this looks like Android 7, which is peculiar because this device claims that it's running Android 12. Since I clearly can't trust any of the claimed specs, I set out to test them. So, for example, I wanted to test the 1 terabyte storage by copying a bunch of videos onto the drive. This is gonna take forever. I can't believe this cable's working. It's a big surprise, because we've all month haven't been able to get any cables to work.
No matter what cable and power source we used, it wouldn't charge or show up as a connected device. The only way we could even charge it was through a USB current tester.
What?
We also couldn't download any music or videos since we can't download any apps. We even resorted to Bluetooth file transfer, which also failed and would have taken forever.
And did you catch when I said it doesn't charge? It doesn't charge using this charge port. But don't worry, because the iPhone 14 Pro does come with wireless charging through MagSafe.
I guess that means if I want to test the battery capacity, I'm gonna have to do it by tearing it down. Let's see what mysteries we can uncover.
Are you able to tell me what is exactly in here?
Of course I can.
Let's do it.
What we're gonna get is an ADB device connection. So that way we can talk to the system without listening to all the lies that it's telling us on the...
There's a lot.
This is Android 6. Here we go, hardware. SP7731GEA. That is a Spreadtrum
A what?
CPU. So Spreadtrum is a Chinese SoC manufacturer. So it's a quad-core 1.2 gigahertz Spreadtrum SoC.
Ugh.
Yeah. How many cores do you say this was supposed to have?
I think it was supposed to be like 8 core.
Ooh, LCD density is not looking good, 240.
That seems accurate, actually.
Well, the display is only 480 by 1014.
What?
Yep.
But it said it was more than that.
I'm sure it did.
That's not 1080p.
It's not.
Hey, Brandon,
What's up?
does this have an AMOLED screen?
No. You could see the blacks from the screen versus the phone. Not nearly as dark.
So I was lied to.
Sure.
Okay, how much RAM?
1 gigabyte
What?
of RAM.
It has 1 gig of RAM, but it said it had 8. And the phone, if you look, it says it has 16.
You can see down at the bottom, the VM allocation total is saying 16, but it actually only has 1.
So what's going on with the other 15?
It doesn't exist. This phone has been so slow. It's because it's trying to fill up memory it doesn't have.
So what about the storage?
It's 16 gigabytes total.
So essentially it has the amount of storage that it claims it has in RAM.
Correct.
It's full of lies. So I think the last thing we need to find out is the battery, because it says it has like a over 6,000 milliamp hour battery. How can we do that?
We take it apart. Let's get it all nice and toasty. There is not much in this phone.
It doesn't even fill the space.
They've got a very large gap around the battery. Maybe that's just in case it swells up.
Despite our best efforts, we were completely unable to unearth the truth about the battery's capacity. Even when inputting the battery model number in Google, we got 0 results.
So we actually don't know how bad the battery is.
No.
Safe to say, this thing disappointed in pretty much every way imaginable. But the most shocking part is how much this costs.
It's what?
It's $300.
At that price, it costs far more than many budget Android phones from the likes of Samsung and Nokia. And frankly, while it may look like an iPhone at a distance,
I mean, you could get a used real iPhone from a few years ago for similar money, and that'd be way better. This thing is in every single way a scam. It is the worst knockoff product I've ever seen, used or could even imagine. And literally burning $300 would be more useful than buying this. Probably better for the environment too. Thanks for faking this MAC address. If you've owned any knockoff products yourself, give this video a like. And if you want to learn more about real products, then you might as well subscribe. I'm curious in the comments below what knockoff products that look like Apple devices you've bought and how that experience was. Was it as bad as this? This is even worse than I could have ever imagined.